Helen Keller proposed, "Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much." And Albert Einstein observed, "It is strange to be known so universally, and yet to be so lonely." Alone. It's a word that carries immense weight, stirring deep emotions within us all. From the very moment we enter this world, we crave connection, touch, and companionship. As humans, we are inherently social beings. Our well-being is intricately linked to our relationships, both with ourselves and with others. Tonight, we remove the training wheels and get straight to the heart of things that matter. This is no one-man show. This is Adventures in Madness.
Thirteenth century AD. A Franciscan friar, theologian, and chronicler, Salim bin Adam, details a strange and tragic experiment conducted by King Frederick II. The king seeks to determine the following: if no language is ever communicated, will infants come to speak Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Arabic, or the tongue of their parents? In this experiment, Frederick removes infants from their parents and places them in the care of nurses. He instructs that the infants are only to be nursed and bathed, but no other communication or niceties are to be shared. According to Salim bin, the king, quote, labored in vain, for the children could not live without clappings of the hands, and gestures, and gladness of countenance, and blandishments. This experiment provided no answer to the king's question, but the infant's inability to survive and thrive without touch and communication provided important insight into human psychology and the potentially fatal consequences of being alone.
With all the divisive material we are exposed to in social media, we are constantly bombarded with reasons to argue with one another, and to diminish one another's value, to even despise one another when we have differing views. For just a bit, we'd like to stop all of the madness and focus on how much better we can be when we remember that we have more in common. Let us remember the beautiful aspects of our lives on this magnificent planet. Things that make us quintessentially human. Like intelligence, laughter, compassion, hope, art, music and dance. And of course, love. As we go through our lives, just as we plan and prepare for our financial needs to be met during our eventual retirement, we must also plan and prepare for our need for one another. For companionship, friendship, and love. Unfortunately, as more and more of our population enter their later years, we are finding that many are chronically alone. But they were young once, and may not have foreseen at that time how their life decisions would impact their access to companionship later on. The fact is, we should all be concerned for ourselves and others in this regard. According to a recent report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine, over 1/3 of adults aged 45 and older in the United States experience loneliness, and nearly 1/4 of adults aged 65 and older are considered socially isolated. Recent studies have revealed the alarming health risks associated with loneliness. Social isolation has been found to significantly increase the risk of premature death from all causes, even rivaling the risks posed by smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity. Additionally, social isolation is associated with a 50% increased risk of dementia, while poor social relationships are linked to a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. These numbers are staggering and should not be taken lightly. Loneliness has also been found to contribute to higher rates of depression and anxiety. Heart failure patients may be particularly vulnerable to this painful phenomenon. Loneliness and social isolation can affect some populations more severely. The report highlights the vulnerability of older adults who are immigrants, or part of the LGBTQ community, or belong to minority groups. These individuals often face unique challenges and barriers to social connection. For example, Latino immigrants may experience fewer social ties and lower levels of social integration, while the LGBTQ community may encounter discrimination and intolerance. More research is needed to better understand the risks and impacts faced by these populations. If you or someone you know is experiencing loneliness, it's essential to seek help and support. There are national organizations like the National Council on Aging, the National Institute on Aging and the AARP, as well as elder care locator and area agencies on aging. These organizations offer valuable resources to improve social connections and overall well-being. However, it's important to remember that individuals must make their own decisions about seeking help and support. Some people may enjoy solitude, and that is perfectly valid. Nevertheless, both social isolation and loneliness pose significant risks to our health. Loneliness is a pervasive problem that affects individuals of all ages, with particularly severe consequences for older adults. Thank you for joining us tonight as we discussed the serious impact of loneliness. And remember, just as we prepare for our financial future, we should also make wise decisions concerning our emotional and social futures as well. We should remember that we are better when we can see our commonality as humans. Let's endeavor to be as great as we can as a species by having compassion and understanding for one another. Before you yield to hatred and anger, remember to think again.